bring in Sean Salisbury, morning host of the Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. All right, so what is going on with Deshaun? Is he injured, or why would he not be going to Green Bay?
Well, Dan, because the distraction of not playing, and he doesn't want to play for them right now. I asked Charles Robinson yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw him. The door is still open, Dan. They are going to visit this while a lot of us have it deadbolted and slammed shut. But between now and the time the season starts, if the commissioner doesn't come out, if there's no legal implication and there's no restrictions on playing, they're going to visit this and see if Deshaun Watson, some point in time, he probably doesn't need a lot of reps. He knows this offense with Tim Kelly. So why he's not going is he's not going to play. So why take him? I don't think he's injured. If it was minor, Dan. I think this comes down to sitting down. If Deshaun Watson decided between now and then, the start of the season, I want to play for the Texans. This is where I want to be. If he did that, Dan, for this year, and the talk is, unless there's some federal felony indictment on him, that the commissioner's not going to make a decision anytime soon on the information and the commissioner's exempt list. So if he can play and there is no restrictions other than the optics of the legal stuff, why wouldn't you play him? The question is, will Deshaun say, yes, I'll go all Aaron Rodgers on you, be talked into playing, and we'll deal with this in January or February? Because right now, they're not going to play him. But I can tell you this, if he's able to play, why the hell wouldn't you play the best guy instead of have him in shorts and a T-shirt during the games on the sideline? We know he wants to get paid.
But also, how can you put together a trade proposal if you're one of these teams? Let's say you're the Eagles, you're the Dolphins, Denver. You don't know when he's available, and it feels like the Texans aren't taking, any kind of secondary deals, that they want top end return on Watson.
And they should, man. They should want top end return because before the legal stuff kicked in, this is one of the three best assets in the National Football League. Just was. And he instantly makes your team better. Now, with that in mind, I'm not getting 25 cents or 50 cents on the dollar for him. And the stuff I can control is communicating with him, seeing if he wants to play, dealing with the football stuff. The commissioner and the legal stuff, that's out above their pay grade. So let's see what happens. But if you're the Texans, you say, well, listen, he's under contract. He's not going anywhere as long as we got him under contract. So he either wants to play, if he can, there's no restrictions, or he doesn't. So we'll keep him here. And then we'll watch teams like the Giants or the Eagles or the Broncos, or if the Vikings flounder this year, 6-7 teams get into the mix. And you know this, Dan, the more that's involved, the more draft picks they're going to get, the more first rounders are going to get. His value will definitely be higher. I don't think missing a season is going to say, well, Deshaun can't play football anymore. So if you're Nick Caserio, you're not just going to give him away, and I wouldn't either. You hold the cards. Nobody else does right now. Maybe the NFL and depending on the legal side, but I'm not giving him away either. I don't have to do anything. I covered myself with Tyrod Taylor. So it's going to be on Deshaun Watson, whether he wants to play or not, because somehow, desperation's the only thing that would make a team right now, Dan. Like if you got a Jalen Hurts hurt in preseason, or you didn't think he could play, you say, oh my gosh, let's just do it because eventually Deshaun Watson's going to play anyway. So let's just take the chance so we can get through the legal stuff. Desperation will be the only way they make a trade right now.
How do you broach the Kirk Cousins topic without making it political?
Are we talking about he
doesn't want to get the vaccine.
Yeah. Dan, for me, I understand the side of people saying as a player that it's selfish because you got other people's careers, wins and losses on your shoulders. I do get that. And if I was a player, I'd probably think the same way. But I also, when you step outside, and how can it not be political, Dan? We've turned a vaccine into Republicans versus Democrats, conservative versus liberal, which is crazy because both sides get it and both sides don't. I've always been a guy that say you should have the choice, but that's different in your personal life because your personal life ceases to exist just by you when you cross the line and 53 other players, an organization, and wins and losses and their paychecks are on the line. It's a tough decision. If Kirk Cousins doesn't get vaccinated, it's not like I wouldn't hang around. I'm not going to be his friend. If Kirk Cousins does get vaccinated, it'll tell you that he's taking more responsibility for the team. But I refuse to tell anybody how to run their life because I don't know what their health is or what the downfall is or for their health or what goes on in their family or their religious beliefs. I can tell you this, though. You have to keep in mind that it's more than one person in mind. It's not just you and your family. You're talking about guys that are relying on their paychecks and wins and losses, and part of that falls on Kirk Cousins' shoulder. but I'm not telling him if he should get it or not. That's going to be him and his family to decide.
You're in Texas. I'm curious how big the Dak Prescott situation is. That this is a little trickier. That this isn't, we moved on from the ankle. It's not the shoulder itself. And here they are contacting the Texas Rangers staff on did they face any of these kind of injuries with some of their pitchers. Is this something? Nothing? Oh.
I'm concerned, Dan. I don't trust when it comes to pro sports and doctors or coaches talking to me about injuries. I don't trust any of them. Not that they're trying to hide, but I don't trust any of them telling me and you one thing and not knowing, because first off, you're not going to panic a fan base if you're really, really worried and say, man, we're concerned about Dak. Well, he's getting reps and we're watching his reps. Anytime it comes to that part of the body on a quarterback, Dan, of course I'm concerned, especially when he's been out for this time and hadn't thrown a lot of balls during his time when he was rehabbing his lower half injury. So, yeah, I'm concerned. And they're reaching out to others, which tells me maybe they don't know what's happening in-house. The Cowboys cannot win a division without him playing. With him, they're going to be one of the 5 best offenses in the league as long as health exists. So you're damn right I'm concerned, because the defense is trying to scramble around and play well. And there's a lot of talk in Texas. And I think people think, well, it's early in camp. We'll poo-poo it away. He's going to be okay. But when it's talking to that, I think there's deeper reason for concern for Dak Prescott than not, because you know how I feel about him. I think he's a hell of a player, but I know damn well that without him, the Dallas Cowboys become just a team, because he's not just a guy. He's one of the guys.
These max contracts for quarterbacks, Josh Allen just got paid. We're waiting to see what happens with Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. But why is it that Josh Allen just signed his extension? That means Lamar Jackson has to make more, and then Baker Mayfield has to make more. At some point, can't you just say, hey, Baker, you're not a $42 million a year guy. You're just not. We're going to give you 35 years for $150. I hope you enjoy it. Like there has to be some kind of financial sanity here that Baker Mayfield is not better than Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. But if he signs last out of these 3, then is he going to make the most out of this 3?
And Dad, you're exactly right. Where's the line in the sand of this where there is some financial responsibility? Listen, of those quarterbacks you just mentioned, the guy who's progressed in every aspect of this game the most is Josh Allen. There is no question about it. And he has elevated his play. Lamar's still working on his passing game. Baker's still putting another back-to-back season together. What happens is the pecking order, Dan, and you know this, a lot of times it's not the best guy. It's the timing of it. Yeah. Whether it's Dak Prescott during his injury, needed to happen, and how desperate your franchise is. Now, listen, I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a hell of a year. But today, if you said, Sean, who's getting paid more? Josh Allen deserves more. But, Dan, let's say they wait as the season goes on and Mayfield throws for 4,300, 35 touchdowns, 8 picks, and they win the division. Guess who's going to make that kind of money? Baker Mayfield is. So this is a monster year. And with Lamar, same way. They're both going to hover in that $40 million range. Neither one of them, even though he's got an MVP, Lamar's game still has to expand in the passing game, but a dynamic talent. Baker is elevated. The people in Cleveland love him. And it doesn't matter what you and I think. It matters to Stefanski and the front office Cleveland. Love him more than somebody else does, or don't love him as much. You're looking in the next 7, 8, 9 months, those 3 guys in that draft are all going to make 40 plus or in that range. But the key is the season. If Baker wants to bypass it, it's just not automatic because you're the next guy, you get paid. You got to pay the best guy. But if Baker has a great season and Lamar, Dan, you're going to be looking at guys that will hover around Josh Allen, if not more, that $150 million guaranteed. It's called playing the most important and the toughest position in the world right now in sports. And those franchises believe in the guys, and all 3 of them have made elevation. Josh is the best of the 3 right now. Baker not far behind, and obviously the most dynamic talent with his legs and his ability is Lamar Jackson.
If the Chargers and Rams were a stock, which one would you buy?
Oh, gosh, that's a heck of a question. I think Matt Stafford's a sneaky MVP candidate. I don't even know if that's sneaky.
No, not sneaky anymore.
Yeah. I don't think it's sneaky because we know he can rip it. I would probably, if you tell me short-term stock, Dan, Rams. Longer-term stock, I'm going like 3 years or more, 2 years or more. I'm taking the Chargers because I believe Herbert is really, really special, and they've got a roster. I think the Rams have a window, but that window isn't going to stay open long. We've seen it in the Seattles and Washington, and injuries come into play. This year, I'll take the Rams. 2 years from now, I'll take the Chargers. So short-term, long-term investments, I got the Rams this year because I think that They are one of the big challengers to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC. And if Stafford's upright the whole season with Sean McVay, he's going to look around saying, I can't believe I'm on a team that actually has a chance to win for the first time in his career every week.
How many teams do you think have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl?
Legitimate chance? Well, we know Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo are at the top three for me. I would say anytime Russ Wilson or Aaron Rodgers are your quarterbacks, you got a legitimate shot. The best roster is, if the quarterback position is settled, is San Francisco. I love their roster and when they're healthy. And then some sneaky ones, if you want to call them, the Cleveland Browns roster in the AFC. If Baker Mayfield plays like we talked about to get that $42-43 million, the Browns will win that division. Their roster is stacked. But the question is, do they believe it? Can they believe it? Can they take the next step? Probably, Dan, a half dozen legitimate, because there's some teams that are on the cusp. While I like Seattle, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team, even though I mentioned Russ Wilson. Green Bay's defense got to continue to elevate. I'm not sure that Pittsburgh's back yet, depending on what happens with Najee Harris in the run game. Probably 6, and then probably a legitimate 4 or 5. And all of them have one thing in common. The quarterback is a guy who can carry a team for a month or a month and a half.
Always great to talk to you, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Great talking to you. Thanks for having me on, guy. Appreciate
That's Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback, host of the Sean Salisbury Show, Sports Talk 790 in Houston.